Hello and welcome to the Friday show with CJ Werleman, presented by Inside Arabia. I'm your host, CJ Werleman. Thank you for joining us here today and every Friday for a breakdown of some of Inside Arabia's coverage and analysis on the MENA region. And make sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss a single episode. Our coverage this Friday examines Israel's long-held desire to construct a third Jewish temple atop the Dome of the Rock, how Saudi Arabia and UAE are making preparations for the potential partition of Yemen, and then finally we look at the International Monetary Fund's move to offer Lebanon a much-needed financial lifeline. Now let's get started. We start with my most recent article, which argues the recent and ongoing raids on Al-Aqsa Mosque by Israeli security forces, along with almost daily incursions by Jewish settlers, are part of a broader attack on Palestinian sovereignty. In other words, it would be a mistake to believe the violent raid carried out on Islam's third holiest site on April 15, when Israeli forces fired rubber bullets, tear gas and stun grenades at Palestinian worshippers, was an isolated incident and not part of a broader plan to seize the mosque and ethnically cleanse occupied East Jerusalem. Alarmingly, nobody is coming to the rescue of the Palestinians, with Arab governments serving up only tepid and muted condemnations of Israel's repeated raids on the holy site. One then must ask the question, if Israel's Arab neighbours are willing to turn a blind eye to violent raids against Muslim worshippers at one of Islam's godliest sites and during Islam's holiest month, then what really does Israel have to fear? Well, the answer is nothing, which is why Israel has attacked the mosque twice since signing the Abraham Accords, once during Ramadan last year and 3 times in counting during the current Islamic holy month. Therefore, it's not unreasonable to conclude that Israel's right-wing government is sending aloft a test balloon for its often stated aim of seizing the Temple Mount, demolishing the Dome of the Rock, and then constructing a third Jewish temple atop its ruins. Further reason for alarm is the way in which the wording contained within the Abraham Accords leaves open the possibility of Israel annexing the mosque compound. The normalization deal signed 2 years ago between Abu Dhabi and Tel Aviv very clearly states the mosque is not under Muslim sovereignty. Now, given the Israeli government has seized and annexed so much of the sovereign territory Palestinians once held in East Jerusalem, while also revoking the legal residences of more than 15,000 Palestinians since 1967, the Holy Mosque has been described as the Palestinian people's last stand against ethnic cleansing in the occupied territory. But diplomatically isolated, the Palestinians are left with no other choice than to defend their sovereignty with violent resistance, which Israel will predictably use as a phony pretext to justify additional illegal and repressive measures to take control of Islam's third holiest site. It's for this very reason analysts are warning Israel is inviting another Palestinian intifada through its repressive actions in occupied Jerusalem. We shift now to Sami Hamdi's latest article, in which he provides a detailed analysis of the competing realities confronting the Houthi rebels, Saudi Arabia and the UAE in Yemen today. Hamdi argues the recent truce announced between the warring factions has set the stage for more pragmatic negotiations, geared towards recognizing the individual fiefdoms that have been carved out during the war, and towards dividing Yemen into autonomous spheres of influence. The potential reality of a partition Yemen became more likely after UAE-backed forces inflicted heavy defeats on the Houthi militias in the battle over the resource-rich Marib province during the start of this year. Certainly this is a crucial setback for the Iran-backed rebel group, given claims to autonomy over Yemen are meaningless without control over Marib, because the Houthis would find themselves dependent on their rivals to meet the needs of the population that lives under its de facto control. That said, a negotiated settlement remains in the distant view, given it's unlikely the Houthi militias won't use the current ceasefire as an opportunity to regroup for a future offensive against UAE-backed forces. Finally, we come to Sami Moubayed's commentary on the International Monetary Fund's move to offer Lebanon a financial lifeline in the form of a $3 billion loan, aimed at addressing the country's profound financial woes. No doubt the deal is a step in the right direction for Lebanon, which has seen its currency and banking sector collapse into ruin, but the deal is far from done. For starters, the loan is far less than the $10 billion requested by Lebanon, and secondly, it's dependent on the Lebanese government taking a series of deep, serious and painful reforms. These measures include floating its exchange rate, monitoring future government spending, revamping the electricity sector, combating corruption in the public sector, permitting external evaluation of the country's 14 major banks, and introducing 2 laws, one for capital control and another for banking secrecy. A ranking Lebanese economic journalist told Inside Arabia these conditions are extremely difficult to meet, because they would dismantle the network of political and financial interests on which the country's political elite have personally profited from. In other words, Lebanon's long-enduring crisis of political corruption stands between it and financial salvation, like it always has. You can find all three of these articles and more on InsideArabia.com, and make sure to follow Inside Arabia on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. That's my time for today. This has been the Friday Show with CJ Werleman. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week, same day and same channel.